Peace, family. This is Tariq. Welcome back again for another day, another episode of Knowledge Corner. All right, today's insight: being close to God. Being close to God. I got this from the song Angel by the great Anita Baker. This is off of her debut album, The Songstress, that was released May 31st of 1983. Fun fact about this album. If you are familiar with the TV show Snowfall, Snowfall was based off of Freeway Ricky Ross, who was a major drug kingpin in the 80s from LA. The rapper Rick Ross, as well as the rapper Freeway, both got their names from Freeway Ricky. Freeway Ricky actually paid for this album to be made. So that's a fun fact on that. Angel is probably one of my favorite Anita songs, but there was always one part of the song that always resonated with me, and it's when she says, "When things get tough, I can always turn to you." When things get tough, I can always turn to you. Now, that could be considered a double entendre in a way, because the song is about a person, her man being her angel. But you can also look at that from God. God is also, he's not our angel, but we can turn to him when we need him. One thing that I have realized, and I was thinking about this earlier today when I was trying to figure out what I was going to say. God is omnipresent, and which means he's everywhere. He's everywhere all at once. But he doesn't make himself known to you unless you ask for him to be included in your day-to-day life. If you have something that you're supposed to be doing, of course he's going to monitor you. But once you actually turn to him and you actually ask him, God, can you help me with this? God, can you help me with that? And you believe that he's actually going to be there for you, then he's going to make his presence known to you. So that's why that sentence, that her singing that, when things get tough, I can always turn to you. There's been moments in my life where I have had to turn to God. We all do. But a lot of times when you do that, you may not necessarily get what you're asking for at that particular moment. Why is that? A lot of times what you're asking for, it takes time for it to actually transpire. So if you're asking for something major, of course that's not going to be anything that happens overnight. It's going to have to take some time. It's going to have to take some resources. Things are going to have to move in order for those things to actually happen. I remember when I was younger, I asked God for something, and it actually didn't happen for almost 2-3 years after the fact, because it had to go through certain things. Things had to happen in order for that one thing that I prayed for to actually transpire. So when you look at Psalms chapter 46, verse 1, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble, which goes back to what Miss Anita said, when things get tough, I can always turn to you. But there are also people we can turn to that are physical. You know, you have your guardian angels, who walk amongst us. You have people who are God uses as his vessels to do certain things for us. I remember years ago, I was in Pittsburgh for work, and I had went out with some friends that I knew, and I didn't drive. I left my car in a parking garage. So I rode with one of my friends, and when we were done, he took me back to my car. We were sitting there talking for a minute. He drove off, and I got in my car, started my car up, it wouldn't start. Tried to start it again, it wouldn't start. So I called him. I'm like, "Hey, bruh, I need you to come back. I need you to get me. My car's not starting." So he literally turned back around, and he came back and got me. That was God working through him in order to get me through that situation. He gave me a jump, and I was able to get, back home. But I remember there was an instance, that I caught a flat on the side of the road once. This was when I was in my 20s. And for some reason, I didn't have a jack. The jack was missing, in my car. And someone pulled over, a lady pulled over, and she actually had a jack that I could use in order to fix the tire on my car. Again, that was God actually working through them in order for them to help me. Those were my angels. Surah Al-Baqarah. Then do ye remember me, and I will remember you. Be grateful to me, and reject not faith. Again, when you ask God, God is there for you. But you have to understand, you have to be grateful, you have to be humble, you have to not reject what he's saying or doing. You have to believe in that. You have to be able to understand that he knows what we know not. And there are certain things that happen, there are certain things that transpire that we may not understand, but in the long run, it always helps us out in the end. So a human angel has a deeper resonance than what the actual song is actually saying. As I said, we have our guardian angels that, we have that walk amongst us. We have people that God uses to help. I can say my wife, she's an angel for me. She helps me out a lot. Her personality, just the type of person she is, she's just the sweetest person. But I understand that I have to treat her a certain way in order for that to actually transpire from me. You just can't be mean and evil to everyone. That's not how this thing goes. You have to be in a good spirit in order for God to actually help you out. That's the reason why a lot of people never get their prayers, answered, because of their spirit. Their spirit is just played up, just straight up evil. And I've never been that type of person. I've never had an evil spirit. I may be an a-hole, but my spirit has never been evil. And there are a lot of people who have evil spirits, but there's also people who have evil spirits that God may technically bless. And he's doing that for a reason. He's doing that to show people that, yeah, I can bless this person, but I can also take my blessing away from this person as well. So are you those type of people? Are you the type of person that has an evil spirit that God continues to bless, and then, for some reason, the bottom falls out? You may be that type of person. I pray for you, that you get the help, you get the help you need in order to understand that what you put in, you get out. And I'm a firm believer in that. Me making these videos, I'm putting a lot into the atmosphere. I'm praying that whoever watches this, I'm able to actually help, and they're able to help someone else. So it's a reciprocal thing. So I'm being an angel for someone who may actually need, who may need this in their time of need. So, Angel, Anita Baker, when things get tough, I can always count on God. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe, and positive energy activates constant elevation. Peace.